Welcome everybody to our presentation, Product Security and Certifications. This is going to be a roadmap session where we are going to talk about the security certification status and ongoing projects. My name is Knut Repte. I'm the Senior Product Manager of Product Security at SUSE for everything that is called SNES somehow. And with me today is my colleague, Katja Royers.
Thank you, Knut. Yes, welcome everybody. My name is Katja Rojas. I am the Certifications Transformation Program Manager in the Event Evans team. I'm happy to be here to explain certifications. Pass to you, Knut.
Thank you very much. So let me introduce you to why certifications do matter and why do we do the certifications we are doing. First of all, I'd like you to point you to new developments in the legal sector. The European Community has come up with a new NIS2 directive. NIS2 is about the critical infrastructure sector, and there are going to be a couple of new duties for especially everybody who is doing public business in Europe or is one of the, let's say, sectors I'm going to explain to you 2 slides on from now. So the NIS2 directive is basically updating the NIS directive and adding new requirements, and it's also expanding the number of entities that are going to be affected. Everybody who has been part of the NIS1 directive has not too much changes, except that that if in the past only parts of his entity might have been subject to the NIS directive, now the entire organization is subject to NIS directive and requirements. The most important part of it is Article 21. Article 21 is asking for everybody that is part of these sectors to do a risk-based security mitigation approach on his entire organization. New to that is that you're also asked to evaluate the security of your software supply chain and your all other supply chains. This is pretty difficult, and I'm going to explain you what this could mean for your organization a little bit later. First, let me jump to the sectors that are counted as critical sectors by the NIS2 directive. Make no doubt, all of those sectors are subject to the NIS2 directive, whether they are sectors of high criticality or other sectors. You can clearly see that it's basically affecting a lot of businesses, and the question is simply which are not critical infrastructure by the means of this regulation. Upcoming at the horizon is already another regulation of the European Community. That's the Cyber Resilience Act. The Cyber Resilience Act is basically affecting everybody that is offering to European Community citizens anything that contains software. So if you're offering a web service, you will be also part or subject to the Cyber Resilience Act. The Cyber Resilience Act is not effective right now. The NIS2 directive is effective. It is just on the phase of national adaptation, but make no mistake, it means that the NIS2 directive requirements are the minimum requirements you're going to meet in for the critical sector. The Cyber Resilience Act is basically affecting or will be affecting all organizations and companies that are offering any kind of product that involves software. And the interesting thing about this one is it's also going to have very high penalties. But the good news with both of these upcoming legislation, if you bought SUSE, then you're pretty much on the safe side because we fulfill all necessary requirements already. Also, with the Cyber Resilience Act, we are almost there. We just need to set up reporting duties or let's say our reporting tools whenever the organizations are ready from the European community that will collect these informations. Let me talk about the most important, or let's say freshest requirement you're going to have out of NIS2 or the Cyber Resilience Act, and this is supply chain security. Supply chain attacks are a increasing threat to anybody that offers any kind of digital service, whether hardware, software, or online. We can see that the attack side of the cybersecurity area is evolving as well. They are constantly developing new technologies, and one can clearly see by this slide that politics and the let's say geopolitical situation is playing an increasing role in the threat that your organization will face. The ENISA have issued a report mid of 2021, and where they counted 24 major supply chain attacks beginning from 2020 till the mid of 2021. So that's a period of 1.5 years. And as you can see by this graph, the cadence of attacks have increased. And the main thing about supply chain attacks is that in the past, at least, supply chain attack has been part of nation-state action. Nation-state action is very difficult to handle since the attackers are most times protected by the nation. So it's not easy to arrest these guys or get hold of them since they're protected. And also they almost anytime had, compared to the other kinds of cybercrime, infinite resources. If you take a look closer to the supply chain attacks that have been counted and described in this ENISA threat landscape, you will find a lot of very well-known names. And the list is pretty long. And as you can see by this example, size is nothing that will protect you. In fact, it could even be difficult to handle, since the bigger an organization it is, the bigger its attack surface is, and therefore the effort to protect the organization grows exponentially. What is the official recommendation so far to deal on supply chain attacks? It's basically evaluate your software supply chain by yourself. Well, good luck with that. If you take a look at, for example, an American standard for evaluating the supply chain, this special publication 800-218, these are just the high-level requirements that you will find to fulfill. Behind all these, let's say, in boldface printed points, you will find low-level requirements, and it's quite a big effort. So the big question is, how do you evaluate your software supply chain and prove it? If you would follow the recommendation to evaluate the software supply chain yourself, you will face the situation that you're going to be liable to it. And also there is an economy perspective that would put these efforts to a harsh end. Let's imagine one customer has to evaluate all his suppliers. Well, that's going to be a lot of work. On the other side, we basically at SUSE as a supplier, if we would face and welcome all the evaluation teams of our customers, we would be forced to rent a football stadium to put them all in. So this describes clearly that this approach doesn't make much of a sense. And therefore, the, let's say, approach by choice would be that you have a central certification authority which takes over the evaluation and issues as an evidence certificates. Well, the good news is there is something like that already there. It's common criteria. And from all operating system vendors out there, SUSE has this certification. And I'm going to explain you what this certification is. So SUSE's answer to that is common criteria. Common criteria is an evaluation framework to evaluate cybersecurity on products. It is implemented by one international norm, ISO 15408, and by two international recognition agreements. The international one is, let's say the broader one is Common Criteria Recognition Agreement, and then there is a pan-European second agreement, that's the SOGAS MRA. And the difference between those two is that the SOGAS MRA goes a little bit further in recognizing the certificates. What happened in 2016? In 2016, the NIAP chose to not do any evaluation assurance level based evaluations on operating systems anymore. What does this mean? An evaluation assurance level is basically how deep does an evaluator look into the security of the product. It starts with evaluation assurance level 1, which is basically looking at the product itself. And it goes up to EL7, where basically the evaluator is already part of the early design of the product. With an operating system that is open source like SUSE, the maximum you can achieve is evaluation level 4. And evaluation level 4 is also including everything that is necessary to ensure the security of the software supply chain. Whilst the NIAP stepped away from it, they said we are going just to offer and will require strictly compliance certifications based on a protection profile, which we will predefine. They said this is our approach. We're going to set up specifications and check then against these specifications. And SUSE had to decide if they go down the path with the NIAP or the BSI, and we decided to do both ways in order to demonstrate compliance and security by any means. By this map, you can see that the Common Criteria Recognition Agreement almost includes the whole industrialized sectors or countries of the planet. There are two kinds of member states. One are the consuming ones that do not have an own certification authority. Then there are the authorizing members, which offer a certification authority. In Germany, this is the BSI. And then there is the Pan-European Treaty, SOGAS MRA, which is offering full recognition of common criteria certificates up to evaluation assurance level 4. And this is a little bit a contrast to the Common Criteria Recognition Agreement, where the NIAP lobbied away the recognition of EAL4 and set it down to recognition EAL level 2. But the interesting thing is that they accept still additional modules, such, for example, ALC FLR3, systematic flaw remediation, and this systematic flaw remediation as common criteria talk to basically security updates. So what's the difference from your perspective? A NIAP protection profile certification just takes a look at the product itself, whilst a common criteria L4 certification includes also the company security measures, the production security measures, and everything that is necessary for delivering the product safely, including also security updates. So even if it is mitigated or if it's augmented by ALC FLR3 systematic flaw remediation. So common criteria L4, including ALC FLR3, scopes over the entire software supply chain and takes a look at it and grants at the end that those that the certification has evaluated everything that's necessary for your protection. So if you compare the US approach, it is a little bit easier and faster to be evaluated. It is a little bit clearer, but it doesn't it doesn't span over everything that is really necessary to take a look at if you want to take if you're considering the security of a software supply chain. So this is basically an excerpt from the current common criteria standard, and it's describing the difference between evaluation level 3 and 4. And it basically states that beginning with common criteria evaluation assurance level 4, also the entire production, including the software supply chain, are checked. So the good news is with SUSE, everything that matters for you for the software supply chain is already evaluated. That includes the way we produce our product, from the community code entering our premises, and we do code reviews. We select the right packages. We do automated testing, manual testing. Our build service is designed and established in a way that it is common criteria EAL4 certifiable, and also our delivery network, including the mechanisms for you to check the authenticity of software updates, has been checked entirely. This picture is at the German General Consulate in San Francisco. This was taking place 2021, where we had a handover from the president of the German certification authority. That's Mr. Arne Schönbohm, and the organization is the BSI. The guy on the that's the guy on the left. The guy on the very right is the German General Consul, and in the middle is Brent Schröder, who has taken over the certificates on behalf of SUSE. We also had a second handover of the NIAP OSPP, so we can demonstrate compliance also to the necessities of the North American federal government. And you might ask, there are other kinds of certifications out there, and one of the most prominent ones is the ISO 27001. So what's basically the difference between a common criteria EAL4 plus certification and an ISO 27001? Let's make it short. ISO 27001 allows you to do a balance between the business value of an asset and the cost you have to pay for protecting it. If the business value, for example, is $5 and the cost for protecting it would be something like $5,000, you can choose that you are going to accept the risk But this is based, and this is not doable at common criteria. In common criteria, you need to take anything into account that is relevant for security, and you're not allowed to skip anything based on a business value. That's because in common criteria is coming out of the military sector where lives are at stake, and lives there are still counted as infinite business value. And so the problem for you is if you face an organization with an ISO 27001 certificate, you can not be sure that this business worth evaluation is the same evaluation out of your perspective. So you do not know which of the security measures that might be important for you as a customer and has been relevant to your supplier and has been taken care of. You cannot judge it from outside. But with common criteria, you have the full evaluation of everything that is necessary. And this gives you the opportunity to demonstrate basically compliance and that you did your job in evaluating your software supply chain by just noting down that your supplier has done the common criteria L4 certification. So why do security certifications matter to us? SUSE's basic idea is making Linux enterprise ready. But what is an enterprise? An enterprise is normally an organization where the leader or the chief responsible is not the owner of this entity and has to demonstrate basically that he has done a good job in managing this entity. So enterprises as well as government bodies need to demonstrate risk avoidance and compliance. And one of those risks, of course, is IT and cybersecurity. And of course, you might want to be able to demonstrate your steps to mitigate these risks being sufficient. This is a little bit difficult if you do not have if you're just offering a self-evaluation and but if you have an international valid and recognized certification, it's a pretty easy thing. You just point to the fact. So it's important that you understand that normally if you do set up an enterprise and organization, you do some kind of an internal evaluation. But you need to understand, I'm calling this the triathlon of evaluation, that there are other evaluations ahead of you, which you might not want or can even influence. For example, the intruders will evaluate the security of your organization and will try to find the gap to get inside. And if they did so, you might end up in court and would be held accountable for what kind of actions you have taken. And if you are then evaluated, the difficulty is that something already happened. So the gap is obvious. But there is a way to avoid this. So if you are taking a certification like Common Criteria EAL4, or you have a supplier that did the Common Criteria evaluation assurance level 4 for you, the evaluation that is also accepted by court has already taken place. And if then something happens, you're on the safe side because the evaluation has taken a look at everything that is necessary. There might still have been a gap, but this is something like higher force. And you can point to this evaluation that is done by the certification body, and that includes a government official, and then you're pretty much safe in court to anything coming up. So where do you get your software from? And what are the criteria for you to choose a certain kind of software? If you choose a software with a Common Criteria EAL4 certification, you can be sure that you have done basically your job and you're pretty much secure to demonstrate this to anybody asking for. So I'm now handing over to my colleague Katja, which will tell you what other kinds of security relevant certifications we're undertaking and what is the current state of the projects going on. Katja, please.
Thank you, Knut. Yes, then let's start on celebrating our success. Next slide, please. So as you can see, for our product SLES15 SP2, we were awarded with EL4 Plus Augmented by Flow Remediation certificate on July 2021. This certificate has a validity of 5 years. We are the only provider of a recent general purpose Linux operating system with a secure software supply chain that is certified Common Criteria EL4 Plus for IBM SET, ARM, and x86-64 platforms. Next slide, please. For our product SLES15 SP2, we were awarded with the NIAP General Purpose Operating System certificate on November 2021, and we were included in the NIAP product compliance list at the beginning of the second quarter of our fiscal year 2022. We pursued both EL4 Plus and NIAP General Purpose Operating System certificates in a combined effort project for SLES15 SP2 to achieve the best coverage for our customers all around the world, covering the product and environment as explained by Knut. Additionally, on October 2021, we got listed in the catalog of the National Cryptology Center of Spain, CCN, as the first Linux operating system product recommended. This catalog includes a list of approved secure IT products for the Spanish government. Spanish government entities look into this catalog to select their IT products as those are recommended and evaluated by the CCN. With this achievement, we extended the visibility of our Common Criteria certificates in the Spanish market. Our intention is to promote and extend the visibility of these Common Criteria certificates among all the countries that recognize them, prioritizing according to market segments. Next slide, please. Now we pass to the second area, which is FIPS 140-2. We were awarded with FIPS 140-2 certificates on the selected modules of the products SLES15 SP2, SLE12 SP4, and SLE12 SP5 on the fourth quarter of the fiscal year 2021. So for SLES15 SP2, we got kernel, OpenSSL, libgcrypt, Mozilla NSS, GNU-TLS, and Livica. Next slide, please. And for SLES12 SP4 and SP5, we got kernel and OpenSSL. The next slide. So next, now discuss ongoing and upcoming certifications. Next slide. FIPS 140-3. So for our product SLES15 SP4, we submitted 8 modules under the FIPS 140-3 standards. Remember, these are new standards that CMBP and NIST published. We have submitted 8 modules: kernel default and kernel RT, OpenSSL and OpenSSL 32-bit, libgcrypt, GNU-TLS and libnetl, Mozilla NSS, and Livica on the platforms x86, AMD, ARM, IBM SET15, and IBM Power 10. Additionally, we have worked in another module, which is OpenJDK, which have been adapted to be able to use certified binaries from Mozilla NSS. We estimate the certificates will arrive from December 2023 till May 2024. Note that CMBP evaluation process takes up to 1 year after our submission. So we started our submission during December 2022. Additionally, it's important for us to highlight that we extended our vendor affirmation portfolio to several products. SUSE has a strong commitment with customer requirements related to FIPS, and we have tested on the platforms listed before on the following products: SUSE Linux Enterprise Server 15SP4 on IBM Linux One, for example, SUSE Linux Enterprise Micro 5.3, SUSE Linux Enterprise Server for SAP 15SP4, SUSE Linux Enterprise Base Container Image 15SP4, SUSE Linux Enterprise Desktop 15SP4, and SUSE Linux Enterprise Real-Time 15SP4. You will find all of these details and recognitions in the security policies when the certificates are awarded. Next slide, please. Then let's pass to common criteria. For our SLES 15SP4 product, we are currently working on two protection profiles, the general operating system and the virtualization protection profile. We are currently working with BSI, German entity, and we are planning to submit during September to December of 2023 and to receive the certificates during November 2023 and February 2024. Next slide, please. For our product SLE Micro 5.3, we are currently working on two protection profiles, general operating system and virtualization protection profile, as the same as SLES 15SP4, and we are working with the same entity, which is BSI. We are planning to submit during December 2023 and February 2024 and receive the certificates during February and April 2024. Next slide, please. So then let's start to the highlights. As you can see, we are facing strong changes from regulators. To comply with them, we have designed a strong program including the following highlights: Common Criteria EAL4+ for SLES 15SP4. We are also including Common Criteria EAL4+ for SLE Micro. We are committed with our hardening solutions and SCAP profiles, and we will maintain our profiles and extend them according to customer requests. SUSE has a portfolio of profiles including DISA, STIC, ANSI in multiple levels, such as Enhanced, High, Intermediary, and Minimal, PCI DSS, HIPAA, CIS, and their corresponding version updates. We are also including in this program USGV6 and STIC for SLE Micro. On the STIC area, it's worth to mention we STIC hardened out of the box. We included STIC hardened automation for SLES 15SP4 quarterly update 2, integrating STIC hardening into JUST. And finally, we are including the GV 18030-2022, which is a certificate related to Chinese languages in this program. Next slide, please. As you can see, we are currently planning for Common Criteria SLE 15SP4 EAL4+, and in the next slide is the planning for Common Criteria SLE Micro EAL4+. So with this, we have reviewed this strong program that we are offering, and I will pass now to Knut for the closure.
So thank you very much for listening. We've been a little bit faster than anticipated, but I think you got the message. You can find all information about the security of our products on suse.com/security and further pages on. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to ask them via email. They might be forwarded to the appropriate experts that can answer to you. So thank you very much and have a pleasant day.